Hello and welcome back to the Solo RolePlayers podcast. I am your host PJ, and today I am very pleased and proud and full of hope and joy and thankfulness that I can bring you a little piece of unscheduled programming that does not take away from the normal episodes that come out on the normal schedule. And the reason I can do that is entirely due to the fantastic, unending, and just astounding support that I get from my patrons. You lot out there, you know who you are. I know you know how much I appreciate you, but I cannot say it enough. And if you out there are enjoying this episode that is ostensibly extra for you, then you can thank them too. Just say thank you. Just tip your hat if you're wearing one and just say, thanks PJ's patrons. And I know they will get the message. So, I'm really excited to come here today and just have a little bit of a chat in the sort of a format that I trialed a few months ago with the variety hour type thing, somewhat inspired by the radio sessions that we're doing over on the Patreon Discord, but also just because I have thoughts all the time and I'm playing a lot of stuff all the time. I'm thinking about RPGs all the time, and just as I am sure you out there are too, all the stuff that happens between the hobby is also part of the hobby. And I just want to sit out for a little bit. It's a Sunday afternoon. I magically have the house to myself for a couple of hours, a big cup of tea, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about A, what I've been playing in the last couple of weeks, B, what is new to the PJ household, because for some reason there is always new stuff. I know, it's terrifying and wonderful and amazing all at the same time. And I wanted to touch on just a couple of little topics, just a little bit of a chat on a few thoughts that I have. And then I'm going to finish up the show with a question out there for you listeners if you want to get in touch and give a bit of input for what you want to do next month. Because the other thing I'm talking about today is I've had ideas. And this is always a problem with me. It's a wonderful sort of a problem. I have more ideas than I can feasibly ever do anything with. I'm sure most of them aren't great, and hopefully the ones that are good actually get made. But my recent idea is, with this whole thinking about the format for the show and that kind of thing, is, and straight up top, slight rambly warning for this episode. I have no script for this kind of thing. I don't have a game to tie me down and rules to follow. I'm just going to go off and talk. So there's a fair warning to ramble. If you don't like ramble in your podcast, that is totally fine. You're not missing out on any actual play, particularly. All the meaty, juicy content will be coming out during the regular scheduling, and maybe even another 1 or 2 extra episodes this month. Thanks again to the patrons. You guys are awesome. So, my idea is that I wanted to maybe start to create a little bit more cohesion between the topics that I cover, the things that I do on the show, because so often I'm doing things related to each other. I might interview a creator and also play their game. I might talk with someone about a particular game or game type, and then later also play that game or game type. And I just wanted to kind of see if I can theme months a little bit and put things all into one nice little month basket. I just think that's a fun idea. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. One of the main reasons I want to do this is because I've been making quite a lot of Dolmenwood content, and a lot of it's going over on the Patreon stuff when it comes out, but there's, even for the main feed, there's more than is normal for one game, and I don't really want to just, scatter that over 6 months or also go for multiple months just talking about the one game. So I'm going to condense it all into December. We're going to have a bit of a Dolmenwood December, happily also about the time that the books should be coming to retail, to a store near you. And keep it all sort of tied in together. And I am so terrifically excited and in love with Dolmenwood. You can hear all about it this month on the show, where I did a first look book flip of Dolmenwood where I go through and start to build my world and my story and my characters and how they're going to exist in it, show you a little bit about how I do that before even learning the rules, but start to build my world using the materials that I have before I even make a character and start playing. In that same vein, I'm going to also have the first actual play episode of Dolmenwood where I get in and actually start playing using that character and world building that I've done during the first look episode. I have a character creation episode I'm going to put out as a bonus, probably here. And I'm also going to have, hopefully, if we can get the scheduling right, a bit of a lovely nerd out chit chat with a fan favorite guest and uncle of the show. Hopefully that will line up. And there might be something else as well. So, very exciting month, full of Dolmenwood. I'm not going to talk any more about Dolmenwood because there will be enough Dolmenwood talk this month of December. And so, yeah, these episodes will be cropping up in your normal feed at their normal times and possibly with some more bonus ones as well. If you see an episode come up that says bonus on it, then tip your hat and give a little thank to the Solo Roleplayers patrons for supporting me in the work that I do so I can continue doing more and more of it. Wonderful. So first, I just want to have a little bit of a chat and reminisce over what I've actually been playing in the last couple of weeks, what's been on the table in the PJ household. It has been a little less than usual, perhaps in the last 2 weeks, but the 2 weeks before that was a little more than usual, so it just sort of balances out. The last 2 weeks in the show, while I've been playing a fair bit, I haven't been recording, and that's because we had over in the Solo Roleplayers book club over on the Discord server there, we were doing the One Ring for this month's book club, or for last month's book club. And it was very late in the month and I had still not been able to get the game to the table. So what I did was set up on the kitchen table, much to the dismay of my family, for about a week. I pushed to the edge of the table and learned the game by playing a little fan-made supplement called Boromir Lives. And Boromir Lives is a really interesting idea. It's interesting for a lot of reasons. It's interesting because it's quite a different solo design to what I've seen before in all of the solo-specific stuff that I have played. It's quite a lot more, both a lot more specific and deeper, but also a lot more open and free. So really interesting design. I am going to do an episode about the One Ring soon, and I'm going to talk a lot about that because there are certainly a lot of elements in there that I want to discuss that was really interesting. And I learned the game by playing Boromir Lives. You can pick up Boromir Lives. I'll put the link in the show for wherever it is. I assume drive-through, can't remember exactly, but I'll put a link in the show notes. If you have the One Ring already, or even just the quick start, I think you just need the core rules, or probably the quick start is enough. The Strider mode, which I believe is also a free download. If it's not, it's affordable PDF. And the Boromir Lives, which is very affordable as well, considering how much love and passion went into that. And I had a really nice time. I did just sort of... I don't want to call it journaling because it wasn't journaling. It was more note-taking and written imagination. I don't know. I've talked a little bit about it on some other episodes about my new sort of note-taking style. Actually, that brings me to another point. I recently found out about a formalized note-taking style, which, of course, with my zero prep, and just thought of again now, I don't have the name for, but I know it is by... is designed by a lovely gentleman who designed the Loner games and is still designing those things. Also someone I'm working on having an interview with on the show to talk about Loner, which I haven't played yet, but I will soon. And yeah, he designed this system for a formalized digital or analog notation of things like oracle questions, dice rolls, using symbols that can basically be a sort of a language that you learn. Very easy, very simple, and is understandable to other people who also know it. So if you're the kind of person who wants to share your play sessions on Substack or on blogs or something like that, and you want to be able to essentially share your shorthand. That's what it is. It's a common language for solo roleplay journaling shorthand. And I'm a huge fan of the idea. I don't do any of mine on the computer, so I don't need this exactly, but it is something I was doing anyway, developing symbols and stuff to just create a shorthand so that I'm not writing out prose, but rather just writing enough to keep me on track and to spark the memory of the session and the images in my head of what happened, rather than actually breaking my flow and writing long script. I have a whole other show where I spend way more, a really long time writing script and coming up with script. So I don't actually want to do that in my day-to-day solo play. Also why I started a podcast and just speak out loud when I do it. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. We will be talking more about it later when I speak to Robert on the show. Roberto, sorry. Yeah, where was I? So that's how I was journaling Boromir Lives, using Boromir, core rules, and the Strider solo supplement. Had a lot of fun doing that. I've gotten probably most of the way through the story, actually. I think in 3 or 4 sessions I got up to the Black Gate. Anyway, I'm not talking about that. We'll talk about it at the time when that happens, and I talk about the One Ring. Also on my table has been, a fair bit of Dolmen Wood, but that has been packed up now, so I can do other things before I enthusiastically get back to Dolmen Wood again for the second series of sessions that I do. The next thing that is on my table that is printed out and ready to play is Beetle Knight. And I mentioned this in the last show that it was new to the household. Since then, I haven't technically learned it, but I have done enough flicking that I feel like I understand it, and to me that is the perfect point in which to start playing, and I'm very excited about it. A, because it is just a gorgeous little thing. I love the imagination, I love the art, I love the presentation and the simplicity of these books, but I'm also, as I do look closer at it, I love the way that the detail has been, or the way that what the author has chosen to put in the book and what they have chosen to leave open. And without having actually played yet, looking at it, it seems like for the way I play solo, is going to be a really, really useful tool for that. It's also really quite procedural, which, as we know and as we have talked about, is a huge benefit to solo stuff for certain games. That's Beetle Knight. It has multi-layer hex crawl because you have like the underground, the forest floor, and the canopy, and you're drawing cards and making a multi-layered hex map with various entrances and exits climbing up and down between the canopies, trying to track down, what's it called? Instigator, I think, something bad that is doing bad stuff. You don't even know what they are yet. And there's a really interesting little clue collecting system where you collect rumors about what this thing is and learn about them as you go. When you collect the last rumor, then you find them and you have the big final boss showdown. Really cool little idea. Can't wait to play that. Has dedicated solo rules, although just looking at it, I could absolutely play it, I think, pretty well with any sort of solo technique, but it does have specific solo rules as well. Just wonderful. Can't wait for that. Keep an ear out. That is Beetle Knight, soon to be played on my table and on the show. The next thing that came and is new to the Solo Roleplayers household is another small game designed by Gunnar Alma, and that is Grimscar. Now, Grimscar was recommended to me. It was being talked about over on the Discord, and although the aesthetic is not necessarily exactly my thing, it still is really cool looking, and there were some premises there that were mentioned that really piqued my interest, and so without really looking too much into it, I went and ordered it. I'm not going to look at it now or anything particularly other than to say it is designed for solo. It comes with cards. That is really nice. I assume I paid. Got the cards extra, but it is designed for solo. It looks like there is quite a lot of descriptive stuff, so maybe bordering between that game book, sort of open-ended game book type stuff. There seems to be a lot of description and stuff about people you meet and places you go, and I'm not sure. I really don't know that much about it, but I look forward to sitting down and playing it. That one is probably an off-mic type situation. I find things that have a lot of text, and if you want to get into someone else's story like that, like a game book, then I find them to be really great for when traveling or when maybe don't have a lot of time. Another topic we're going to talk about, possibly even on this show, this episode. Yeah, that's cool. Grimscar. It also has a journey map where you have a central location, a central hex where you start, and you sort of push outwards into the world, and the world gets harsher and harsher the further away you get. I really like that idea. It almost, to me, it looks like it maybe feels a bit West Marches, that kind of thing. As usual, take everything I say with 1 or 3 grains of salt. Grimscar by Gunnar Alma. I'll be playing that soon. Go check it out if it sounds interesting. The next thing that is new to the PJ household was a little bit of a surprise for me. I got a little surprise package from your friend and mine, Free League Publishing. And they sent me a copy of the starter set box and the core rules for The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead is something that sits in a bit of a weird place in my head. On one hand, playing within established universes is something I find quite tricky. I found it quite difficult playing in the One Ring, although I am pushing through to do that because I think it's a really great game. But in an established universe, it's sort of, I don't know, it makes me nervous to do the wrong thing. It makes me think like perhaps my interpretation of something is incorrect because it's not what actually happened or should have happened. Arguably something that is much more prevalent in Tolkien and The One Ring than in The Walking Dead, because Walking Dead can really just treat it like a setting, and I guess it could be anywhere in the country or the world for that matter, and just have it as an established setting. And so I think that's why this is sort of okay for me, and I'm not that nervous about it, although it still is an interesting challenge potentially. The Walking Dead is not something that I thought I would want to play a role-playing game of. I didn't even know it existed until ages ago. I saw Man Alone did a video about it and said it's surprisingly good solo rules, or surprisingly good game. Can't even remember exactly what he said, but certainly did pique my interest. Since then, I've seen some photos floating around the Discord from a few of the members who've been playing it, and it looks awesome. It looks really great, actually, and it looks to have a really interesting structure to it that does perhaps lend itself really well to solo play. And so I'm going to do the very rare and a very underutilized, and I cannot think why people don't do this more often, but I'm doing a live audio-only unboxing of the Walking Dead role-playing starter set, and you can experience this for the first time in the audio-only format, and I think you will agree this is clearly a superior format to open something without any visuals that you really need visuals for. So let's see how it goes. The first thing that strikes me about the front of this box is that very, very happily they are not using any in-film photography, you know, in some board games where they just take screenshots of the actual thing and put it in the game. Won't play it, not interested. There is at least, stylistically, it looks very suitable for The Walking Dead, and the art is quite lovely. It's quite gritty, but not too photorealistic, which I think would hurt it, actually. So far, so good. Very much like it. Opening the box here, we have very good to see some custom dice. That is not always something that comes with products. In fact, 2 sets of dice. That's nice. Of different colors. We have some dials. We have your standard Free League games catalog. How many games of these do I have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 14. Still more to come. Free League Publishing, good stuff. You know about Free League. We've talked about it. We even talked to the CEO. They do solo stuff. It's good. Love their products. We have some dials, which looks like to be a threat meter, which is fun. Some pre-generated characters on some glossy page, which is nice. Certainly to just get started. I mean, I don't generally like playing full campaigns with pre-generated characters, but something I have started doing, which, as I said earlier, when I was learning the rules for the One Ring by playing Boromir Lives, and Boromir in that case is a pre-generated character, really useful for learning the game by just playing little sections while you're reading the rules. You read the rule about how combat works, there's a combat example, you pull out your character sheet, you describe out loud or in your head a setting, and you have a little bit of combat inspired by that example using the pre-generated character. Wonderful way to learn a game. I will always do that. We have, these aren't pre-made characters, actually. These are, yes, they are. Some pre-made characters. Then we even have the characters from the show, which I don't think I would use, but it's cool that they're there, and I do really like seeing the artistic representation of these characters and not just a lazy photo. You have Glenn, Michonne, Gabriel, that seems to be it. That's cool. Very nice to see. Oh, this is what I saw from our Discord when it was being played. But a good map. Good map makes all the difference. We're going to talk more about maps shortly. And it doesn't look to be necessarily the same place, as in it's Virginia, I guess. But I don't recognize any of the actual places. Maybe that's just because I don't know American geography. But that's great. It looks like the kind of map that you would plan a hike on or a war, and that's a good thing for this game. It's nice to see a useful looking map that'd be really cool and immersive that's not standard fantasy. Like it. Very good. Northeast Georgia, that's where we are. There are also some regional maps. I very much like that as well. This is a 2A4 fold-out spread on a very nice quality paper of a bird's eye view of a location. In this case, it is a fenced... In fact, that looks like... I see a truck smashed through a fence, a small number of buildings. Can't remember from the show what that might be, but doesn't matter. It's happily, if it is a location from the show, it is vague enough that you could use it for anything. And that is sort of, I guess... I like this idea as a map. You're not going to be moving minis around, but it does give you some more of that tactical input during battle where you could say, yeah, I'm hiding behind this shed here, and if I go to that tree, I'm still out of line of sight of that guy. So I like that idea. I think that's good. And there is a couple of them. There's a street with some houses. There is a train track, lots of forest, and survival mode scenario. Interesting. What is that? I like the sound of it. The survival scenario takes place in the foothills of Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains as summer turns to autumn. The PCs have left their haven to look for two members of the group, a secret couple newly in love, who have eloped with one of the group's 2 cars, some gear and lots of supplies. So it's a scenario about locating 2 lovers, or at least getting back what they have stolen, designed to coincide with the events of the 5th season of the TV series. If you're not the game master, you should not read any further. It looks just like a standard scenario. I wonder what the survival mode component is. Happily in here there are familiar factions, but it doesn't look like familiar characters, which is a good thing, I think. Excellent. And then you have some core, some stripped down, I assume, core rules, because I also have the core book here, and it is a lot bigger than this svelte, normal-sized, quick start guide type thing. That's The Walking Dead. Not something I thought I would be interested in playing, but kind of really actually am now. When it comes to the show, I cannot say. There are a lot of things on the solo RolePlayers plate, which is a very good problem to have. That's The Walking Dead. And thank you very much, Free League, for sending me that. Somewhat unexpected, but that's great. I'm quite happy to do that. I, of course, will always speak exactly how I feel about something and not be swayed by pretty packages in the mail. But cool. The next thing that arrived in the PJ house since last time we spoke is a very, very pretty book, single book, not box, not stack of books, which is also kind of really nice that it's a single book. I mean, there's a couple of pamphlets as well, but mostly just a single book. Beautifully made book, which I have absolutely no surprises. It is of absolutely no surprise to me that it is so beautiful because it is Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archive Handbook. Tabletop role-playing in the world of Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archive arrived recently from Kickstarter. There is an awful lot of things you can get on the Kickstarter. I just got the core book because I find it difficult to find space for little bits and pieces, and a book just fits on a shelf. Now, I know little to nothing about this game. I backed it. It was, I believe, almost exactly a year ago when I backed this. I think, I'm not certain, but I think it was a year ago. I booked it on our annual board gaming weekend that I do with some friends. I think I backed it then, and that is coming up again, so I guess it's a year. Good turnaround time. I backed this because at the time, I had only read Mistborn, and I think I was nearly at the end of the Mistborn trilogy from Brandon Sanderson. And this Kickstarter came up, kickstarting both the Stormlight RPG and the Mistborn RPG. And at the time, I put more stuff onto the Mistborn because I was really into that world. Still am. I think it's a fantastic universe. Really interested to see what they do with the laws of physics and how magic works, that kind of thing. And I hadn't read the Stormlight Archive. However, or The Way of Kings is the first book. However, I did know that I was going to read it because I was enjoying Mistborn so much, and so I thought, well, I'm going to get the book and maybe it's cool. Now, as we speak, I did eventually start reading The Way of Kings. I've not finished it yet. Thoroughly enjoying it. Which brings me to a bit of an issue, which is I still don't know what's happening in that universe. And this book, this role-playing game, is probably going to spoil some of it for me. Probably there are some mechanics, and definitely there are some mechanics and law in here that is still a mystery to me in the book, and I want to find that out organically through reading the book. So I've intentionally not looked very much at this book, other than to flick through and to say that the art is, of course, gorgeous. It seems to be quite comprehensive in what this book is doing. I believe this is Brandon Sanderson's first RPG, but I also have quite a bit of faith in him. And I have heard and can already see that the leveling up system, the skill tree thing, looks to be quite interesting and unique and fascinating. I don't even want to look too much into it. Most of this book appears to be about skills and stuff that you can do, which makes me think there are an awful lot of ways to play. And I think it makes sense considering the setting of the book. That's Stormlight. I won't really look into it until I at least feel like I have a good grip of what is happening in the universe. I don't know if that's going to happen by the end of the first book or if I need to read another few thousand pages first. Not sure. So that's probably a while away. However, that is the Stormlight Archive. It also is coming to stores kind of about now, I think. Check it out. The Stormlight RPG. Oh yeah, it has cards. It also comes with cards. I love cards. You know I love cards. It is a plot deck. It has some conditions. Fine. But what is more interesting is it has events that are triggered when the final complication slot is filled. So I guess that's unnecessary. I guess when you're rolling dice and you get complications and it fills up and triggers events, great news for solo play. There are official solo rules, I'm pretty sure, or at least solo adventures to get you playing. That's more what it is, I think. Don't quote me on that. I don't think there are official solo rules. Okay, got to stop reading. Can't even read into that. It's got spoilers. And then it has a deck with opportunities and complications. Yeah, that's right. That's why I got this deck, because that's really cool. If you're playing solo in whatever Oracle system you happen to be using, or it throws up, or whatever mechanics in the game throw up a complication, you can draw something and it says Haunted Past, and then some options of what that might be. Again, don't know how the rules work, but you recall a painful memory. You must either use the recover action before the end of your next turn or lose 1d4 focus. If you can't think of a complication, you can draw a card. And even if you're not interested in the text for whatever reason, there is artwork on it that can trigger some imagination and ideas as well. Stormlight the RPG now with cards. Also tokens and maps and all sorts of great stuff that I didn't get. The final thing that is new to the table, new to the household is something I'm not yet sure about. I am, however, going to play it in a group on our little weekend away coming up. So I will, after that, have a bit more of an idea what it was. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm just going to talk about what comes in this box. And that is the Daggerheart core set. Now, whoa, that is quite a lot of book. That's because it's a book and a box. Good. So we have here a reasonably chunky book and quite a tidy little box, about the same size as the book. I do like that. They are both in a slipcase, not a slipcase, in a sleeve, full graphic sleeve, which I have complicated feelings about. I generally don't like sleeves. It's something else to put somewhere when you take the thing off. So the big question to me is, a live reveal, does this little box, which is book size, so far I love that, for a starter set box. Does it have a spine on it? That means I can just put it on the bookshelf like a book? Yes, it does. It absolutely does. Praise be. Daggerheart, matching spine to the core book. As to this little box, designers out there who are doing core boxes, this is how I want a core box to be, always and forever. I have a stupidly annoying, complicated problem where my core boxes like Dragonbane and now The Walking Dead and Pendragon and the One Ring starter set. Forbidden Lands core box I actually just threw away because it didn't have anything in there that needed a box. You were right, man alone. And it's annoying to put on my shelf. This is how I want you to do a box. This is lovely. I'm just going to look at the box, not so much the book just yet. As we open this up, it feels very high quality. There's a little ribbon in the box. There's a little magnetic flap. I do like that. And inside the box, there are 6 decks of cards. Cool. Did I expect more than that? Should there be dice? I think I wanted to see dice. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I hear it's great. I hear everyone says this is great to have all these cards. They're really useful. The box is really lovely. I have 6 decks of cards in plastic molded places. I could have also had a map and some dice and not have the plastic molded things. I'm not sure I need to store my cards in this. I don't know. We'll have to see when it comes to play if that's good. I don't think I'm disappointed, just a little surprised. That's Daggerheart. Daggerheart, I have heard whisperings of it being pretty decent to play solo. There are things in there from what I know of the rules that seem to, I'm going to open this book, that seem to suit themselves to solo play. I think that whole responding with or succeeding with fear or failing with fear versus hope or whatever the system is, that is something that I am using and experimenting a little bit with myself. Not from this game specifically. The idea actually was borrowed from, inspired by Sundered Isles, where there are 2 dice representing the 2 munes, and depending on which one is higher or which one succeeds or whatever, it can flavor the outcome of the move. I've started developing my own little oracle that I'm using for most things now, which incorporates that idea. And so far, I really love it, especially in solo play, where anything that helps ground you to, or encourage you to come back to the narrative or picturing things is a good thing. This book looks lovely. We have 2 ribbons. I love ribbons. Beautiful art. Well laid out. Really like it. I think my son's going to love this one. I know nothing about this game other than that dice mechanic. A few of the mechanics. Don't know about the setting. Looks nice. Something I will check out at some stage. Daggerheart. Probably going to immediately throw out the slipcase because I don't like slipcases. But that's okay. You might. I don't have anything particularly against them, except they're always tricky to get back on. You generally bend the edges pretty quickly, and when you take the book out to play it, you instantly have something that you need to find somewhere to put down, which is kind of flimsy, so you don't want to put anything on top of it. You like put it on the floor or the chair next to you, and I don't know. I just don't love it. I think it's gone. I mean, I might throw it out. I'm not insane, but I'll, put it in a box in the basement and leave it there forever. That's the only sane way to handle this kind of thing, isn't it? Those are all of the new acquisitions in the PJ household today. And those are the games that have been on my table. All things you're going to hear about in the future, and you can just keep your eye out for when that stuff happens through the course of play. The next thing that I wanted to touch on was just discuss a couple of little topics. Topics are interesting because topics are interesting. What a profound statement, PJ. One of the interesting things about this hobby is there are so many ways to approach everything, and that is fascinating. It is also dangerous because when you're really starting out here, it must be so overwhelming. I see it in Reddit all of the time, and this is a whole other episode I am planning and will be doing soon, how to solo roleplay, tongue-in-cheek a little bit. You all know, if you're on Reddit, every day there's a question saying, how do I solo roleplay? How do I do this? And then you get 1,000 answers which just says, just do this, just do that. You can do this, just do that. And all of those things are coming from a good place. They are all helpful, kind of, except that when you look at all of them in one go and you haven't actually experienced playing and you don't know what it is and you don't know what you like or what you're going to do, and the people answering don't know who you are and what you like and how you want to play, it's really overwhelming, I imagine. Happily, I started playing before I discovered that stuff, kind of. And so now it all makes sense to me. When I read all those responses, everything makes sense to me. If I were a new player, I'm not so sure. So these topics are interesting because there are so many different ways to do things, and hearing what is important to some people or other people's approaches to things, while not necessarily meaning you have to try everything that everyone does. In hearing or reading about other people's approaches, I find that is a natural way where you can start to tune your brain to what it is you actually want. You might read something that says, I love journaling. I do a dice roll and I write out 2 A4 pages and I love it. That is awesome. I don't want to do that. And maybe I don't know I don't want to do that until I hear someone's experience of what that is. The first topic that I wanted to ask, I put in the Discord, what should I talk about? What's something, I don't know, do you want to hear my opinion, what I do? Maybe it sparks ideas for other people, whatever. And the first thing that came up was that we should definitely talk about ambient verisimilitude. And I, being a very intelligent person, of course know what verisimilitude means. Verisimilitude. Verisimilitude. Which, of course, comes from the Latin veri, meaning truth, and similis, meaning similar. So, in other words, it's when something seems realistic, even if it isn't literally true, obviously. So, ambient verisimilitude is then when you are helping add to the atmosphere and the world of your play through something that is not real, but is kind of real. What do I mean? For me, that is mostly music while I'm playing and tactile things. What I like to do, and this is something that I've talked about for a long time, other people have talked about as well, and I just recommend everyone do it all the time. If you have a map for your game when you're playing, even if you are not using that map, put that map on the table and play on top of the map. There is something about having that map there and doing things, especially when you get into the GM mindset of your solo play, because in solo play we tend to switch between GM mindset, arguably procedural mindset, and PC mindset. Something else I'm working on, we'll talk about more in the future. Having that map there and having some music on in the background and having your whatever it might be. Maybe you have a candle. Maybe I know Dan from Dungeon Dive has a little lantern that he always uses for his tracking of his party members. Maybe you have a timed light switch for your lamp so that when you're playing Shadow Dark and your torch runs out, the lights go out and you go, oh dear, the lights are out. Whatever it happens to be, all of those things I find are really cool And they're part of the wonderful thing that is this hobby, which is at its core something that you can tailor exactly to what you want, which you really can't do with most other things. So yeah, that is what ambient verisimilitude is. Thank you, Dungeon Support, for bringing that up as an offer. Like I said, for me, it's I put on a Spotify playlist. Yes, I know Spotify, whatever we think of Spotify is probably accurate. However, for the low barrier of entry to be able to search for the name of a game and put on a playlist that is probably half decent and add some ambient music that doesn't require my attention or force me to like stop and search something else and break the flow of things, I find that really useful. I know there are plenty of other things out there that are possibly even better. I can't think of it right now, but I know I have been recommended a website that does RPG music, and you can like choose the mood and that kind of stuff, and you can stream it from the website. I'll see if I can figure out what that was and put that in the show notes as well. Or, you know, I've got the Dolman Wood vinyl. I could go and put the vinyl on when I get a record player. And yeah, I think the music is really nice. I generally put it in a low mix, so I'm not listening to it so much. A lot of people can't stand it, and they don't want music in their play. That's great. That's fine. But for me, I find it does help put me in the place of play and put me in the world. And I think as I talk about this, I'm starting to understand what ambient verisimilitude is. And it is those external other little things that help put you in that mental and physical space where you are in that world and playing. And that is all part of the enjoyment. And I think that is a wonderful thing. The second little topic that I want to put my perspective on and then ask you lot out there what you do, because I'd be really interested to hear. Bruce the Wise asked, micro sessions. What about micro sessions? What can you do when you only have 15 to 30 minutes of playtime, for example? And I love this idea. I had a recent experience with this. I can't remember if I talked about it or in what format I talked about it, but I had a recent experience where I'd been a little bit bummed out just because I had not had the opportunity to play for a lot longer than I would have liked. And that happens in life sometimes. You don't have the space, you don't have the time, you don't have the, in my case, often quiet in the house to be able to actually play. And it's so easy to think, I've only got half an hour, it's not worth setting something up. I'm just going to scroll my bloody phone, you know? Don't do it. Don't scroll your phone. It doesn't make you happy. Do what you want. I'm not your real dad. But I tried recently. I was feeling a little bit bummed out about playing, about not being able to play, having not had the opportunity to play. And so I had exactly 25 minutes before I had to walk out of the door to go to work. And I actually, now thinking about it, I can't actually remember what game it was, but that's not actually important. It was either the One Ring or it was it's either One Ring or it was Kalarath. But something that was near my table at the time. And I thought, bugger this, I'm sick of moping about. I want to just play something, even if I've only got 25 minutes. So I just pulled something open. And I think I did exactly one dice roll. I think I like read through a paragraph and imagined something and like did one dice roll. And in the end, I only played for about 15 minutes. But very quickly, once I sat down and just decided I was going to play, I got into the headspace really quickly. It always happens quicker than I think it's going to. And just that 15 or 20 minutes, I stopped. I got to a dice roll. I came to a natural point where I would then, not end of a session, but like end of a move or whatever it was, end of a situation. And I stopped and I went out the door and I went to work. And for the rest of the day, I was just happily in my head thinking about that experience and wondering what was going to happen next to my hero or whatever was going on. And I didn't feel bummed out anymore. It was really fantastic. How do you do this? I don't know. I think I have an answer. I think I have an idea, and I haven't done this yet, but it is I kind of have. It is something I want to do. And I think the answer is, decide what you want to do, because another suggestion came through is, hey, don't forget about game books. And that's a really important thing. There are game books like the Obvious Mimic books. I have a few of them here. You can get them on EPUB. You can get them on your Kindle or your iPad or tablet or whatever. And you can like click through stuff. I mean, you get them on your phone, I guess. And you can click through stuff and you can roll a dice quietly, or as I've done on the plane with my son, have a dice in your pocket and just pull it out and then see what number is under your thumb. That works for rolling a dice. Mythic has a little mini Mythic printout, which has a little big stack of numbers that you can close your eyes and point to and get a dice roll. You can have a deck of cards like the fantastic Game Master's Apprentice deck, which has dice rolls on it. You can have a dice roller on your phone, whatever it happens to be, whatever lowers the barrier to entry to get you to play. But having a little kit, and what I have is a little A5 notebook with removable notebooks in it. It's like a jacket for a notebook with elastic in it, and you can slip new notebooks in. That's important for me because if I have an actual bound notebook, I'm never going to write into it because I'm terrified of making a mistake and it looking terrible. This I can just replace stuff, so that's great. I have that. Strapped to it, I have a couple of pens and pencils. And I have within it a little slip that has some character sheets and some little cards with tables and whatever else on it. Basically a travel kit. But if you have something that you can just pick up and start playing with minimal anything, it could be, for example, the White Box book, the very cheap and very small little A5 white box original D&D style thing with the, as talked about recently on Geek Gamer's channel, the one-page solo something. Can't remember what it was. I'll have to link to that as well. But basically a solo sheet, I think. Solo sheets, which is made for White Box, which just has on one bit of paper a hex map and a bunch of tables and, basically all you need to play a game like White Box. I think it specifically is made for White Box, but you could do it for a lot of old school stuff. And yeah, some low barrier to entry that you can sit down and get something out quickly. Now, I don't think you need that necessarily. I think the most important thing to be able to play a 15 to 30 minute session is the psychological acceptance and understanding that it is worth it to play a 15 to 30 minute session. I think that is the key thing. Now, this falls apart if you need to go down to the basement and run down there and pull out a big box of books and pull out all the books and then choose what book you're going to play and which tables you're going to use. Then it falls apart. You need an idea in advance, whether that is a repeatable thing, like a little kit or book, or at least like a mental list of what you need, to just decide to sit down and do it. Obviously, it helps the fewer components that you have. 2d6 Dungeon was also recommended, and certainly, especially if you don't have the cards for that, which, I mean, of course, you can have and still do in a small footprint, but if you just have the book and a notebook, or like a dot grid to draw your dungeon on, and a couple of dice, the important thing is just try it. Trust me that, and maybe it doesn't work the first time or every time, maybe I got lucky the first time, but trust me that it is possible to have a meaningful session in 15 to 30 minutes. Calarath is an excellent example of that, and I think Castle Grief even talks about that, like set a small amount of time and just do it. Calarath is a fantastic candidate for this. Yeah, and just try it, because I can tell you that my personal experience on that day when I did that, when I was bummed out about not having played enough RPGs, it gave me my fix, it sparked my imagination, and when I came back to that game, I was further through in my head about what was going to happen and what the story was and possible complications that were coming up, had all been bubbling away on the background throughout my day at work, and it was really great. Highly recommend it. That is then it for... Hi, PJ here from about an hour and a half in the future. As soon as I finished this recording, I went down and in the Discord, people were still talking about how do I play in 20 minutes. And so I was inspired and I printed out the solo gaming sheets that I mentioned and pulled my book of White Box off the shelf. Basically didn't use the White Box book. I set a timer for 20 minutes. I had about 10 minutes of like setting up the thing. And I had a total time of 32 minutes, and I played a session of White Box with Rink and Tor, and it was exciting and dramatic and set up a whole part of an adventure for them, which may become a future story. I had a lot of fun. I had never looked at the solo gaming sheet before, so I was learning the rules as well. I was making up stuff as I went along, and it really didn't matter. I had a really great time in just 20 to 30 minutes. And it could have been less. If I continued the story now and I set a timer for 15 minutes, then I would get another meaningful session out of it. Seriously, go try it. It's a really good activity to do, get those juices flowing, and it really is eye-opening how little a barrier to entry, or how less of a barrier to entry there has to be to actually sit down and play. That has always been the core conceit of this show and what I talk about. Just sit down and play. If you want to hear that actual session, I just recorded it on my phone as I was playing it, and I'm just about to put that up on the Patreon over there as just a little session. It's silly, it's fun, but if you want to hear how that actually sounded, that 32 minutes of play, including world building and setup, then you can go and see that over on the Patreon. It'll be there in the feed. It'll just live there. It'll stay there. So yeah. This is getting a little bit Inception, I know, but BJ here from the editing room on the day of release, and I have actually just gone over to the Patreon and made that episode publicly available, which means you can go over, join up as a free member, and you can listen to that 20-minute example of me playing. Back to past PJ, but later in the part, I don't know, you figure it out. That is then it for this variety show, rambly sort of an episode. Now, I am absolutely okay with rambling on today's episode because this is not taking away from your regularly scheduled programming. As I said, please again tip your hat just quietly to yourself and thank the Solo Roleplayers patrons for supporting me and allowing me to put out some extra stuff like this. I hope to do it more frequently. I hope to continue doing it. If you too want to support the show and help other people get some bonus content from Solo Roleplayers, then you can head over to Patreon/Solo Roleplayers. Not to mention the double the amount of episodes that are over there, continuing the actual play stories, some design stuff, some book club. We record the book club sessions. There's all sorts of stuff over there. It's really great. If you do want to support the show and support those other Patreons supporting me, go over and check that out. And otherwise, that is absolutely fine. There is absolutely no pressure to do anything. All of the main stuff will always be free for you on this show. I really believe in this community. I really believe in this hobby. I think it is one of the greatest things, and want to do what I can to help keep promote it and raise awareness about it. And in that case, if you want to support the show, then tell someone about it. I think there are a lot of people in the RPG space who don't know about Solo or have inaccurate preconceptions about Solo, who it could really be important for. Either, as Mike talked about last time on the show, Mike Shea, as GM training. Really fantastic tool for that. And that's advice from Mike, I would say one of the more famous GMs in the hobby. Really great cross-training play, really great imagination training, really great story writing prompts. By the end of this year, no, not this year, by the end of next year, I'm going to have written a book, a play, kind of, because of Solo role-playing. Something I was never able to do just by sitting down and deciding I was going to write a book, or whether it's just because you want to learn games, or whether actually the best thing, like it is for me, is the Solo roleplay itself. Spread the word of this wonderful hobby. Do click in the show notes on the SpeakPipe and send in to me, A, your thoughts on the first topic I discussed. What do you use for your ambient verisimilitude practices? Have you tried using a map? What do you use? What's cool? Let other people know what you do so they can maybe copy the idea and enjoy it. 2, the second copy was, do you have any tips or strategies for games that work really well in that small play session time, the 15 to 30 minutes? And I'll report back on those answers with what you tell me. You can either do it on the SpeakPipe, you can send me an email on soloroleplayerspodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Reddit and send me a message, although actually I'm kind of not on Reddit that much anymore. I'm kind of not on social media. But yeah, email's a bit safer, but I will absolutely try and find you if you do hit me up on Reddit. And if I haven't answered you, I promise you it's because I haven't seen it and not because I don't like you. As for the next Variety Hour show that I'm going to do, probably for January, what I want to do is low to no cost games. These are games that are good and juicy and evocative, or whatever it is that makes them good and enjoyable to play, or interesting, worth checking out, whatever it is. What are some of your favorite no to low cost games. On that month, this is where I'm going to be featuring my playthrough of Beetle Knight and my interview with Jim Hall, the creator of Beetle Knight, because it is a low-cost game over on DriveThruRPG. Absolutely wonderful. We'll talk more about it then. For that show, in the meantime, do send me a speak pipe. What is your favorite no to low-cost games? And I will check them out as well and talk about them on the show. That's it from me on the Solo Role Players show today. Keep an eye out. I'm very excited, as I said at the beginning of the show, for December. This month you will be getting all that Dolmenwood content dropping. I do hope you enjoy it. Please write in, tell me what you think. Go check out Dolmenwood if you're interested in preparation and or after you hear the episodes. And I look forward to another month of solo role-playing. I look forward to all the interactions that I have with you all out there, and I hope that you are all having a great time in the hobby. I know you are. If you're not, probably just sit down and play a bit more, even if it's just 15 minutes, and the spark of love can be reignited very easily. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you next time on the Solo Role Players podcast.